We'd like to say thank you to our sponsor, Harbor Compounding. Harbor Compounding is a full-service pharmacy that specializes in personalized medicine, specifically in compounded hormone replacement therapies, pediatric medicines, pain therapies, custom thyroid strengths, and dermatological preparations. And for those who have four-legged friends, veterinary formulations. If you'd like to learn more about Harbor Compounding Pharmacy, visit harborcompounding.com. Hello, I'm Shane Schultz, the executive producer of the Zubia Live channel. Zubia Live is your interactive live streaming video community that specializes in health and wellness topics that affect you. You can always find us on our social media at Zubia Live or our website, zubialive.com. Today, we have another wonderful episode of the Women's Healthbeat hosted by Dr. Felice Gersh. Dr. Felice is board certified as both an OBGYN physician and integrative medicine and has helped women worldwide with her efforts and her knowledge. All right, without further ado, please welcome Dr. Felice Gersh.
Hi, I'm Dr. Felice Gersh. Welcome to this episode of the Women's Healthbeat. I am thrilled today to introduce my guest, a very good friend of mine, Dr. Joel Kahn. Hi, Joel. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you, and very excited for you to have me as your guest.
Well, as some of your audience knows, and my audience knows, you are known as America's Heart Healthy Doc, right?
Correct.
And women have hearts, but many people don't realize that women are also very at risk for heart disease and heart attacks. And here we are at the beginning of the new year, and no one wants in 2018 to have a heart attack, right? Or any other medical problem. So what I want you to share with us are some of the tricks that you have implemented with your own patients. And I know you're a very busy practicing doctor, a cardiologist, to help your patients to have healthy lives and happy lives. So let's talk a little bit about food, right? Because isn't that something we all love? And unfortunately, some of us make very bad choices. So what would be some general recommendations that you'd make about starting the new year eating healthy?
Sure. And it's good to make those resolutions and maybe stick to them for a while, because you might develop some new habits. They might just last longer. And, there's a lot of data that if you do something repeatedly for about 21 days, you might actually change your taste buds, change your habits, change your whole approach to your menu. So first, I think what all food experts would agree on is we have to identify that there really is crap. There really is junk. There really is toxic food. Some people call it Franken food. And it's usually pretty obvious. It's vending machine food, it's cafeteria food in most places, including most hospitals. It's the middle of the grocery store. It's the drive-through window. There's very few exceptions. It's, some people call it hyper-processed food. Incredibly smells good, incredibly tastes good, because scientists are sitting in a row in New Jersey, a whole chemical factory row, where they actually experiment with how this stuff feels in your mouth and smells and tastes and how chewable it is. If you think a sausage egg McMuffin tastes good, it's because chemists have been working on it to make sure that they, induce you to have one and then another and another. But they're not worrying about your health, and you've got to take charge of your health. So the first thing is draw a very clear circle. I'm not doing fast food. I'm not doing soda pop. I'm not doing vending machine. I'm not doing frozen meals that have more chemicals than any actual ingredient. And I'm going to go back and try and learn some skills of buying fresh ingredients, simple combinations, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm going to, wean myself very rapidly from that junk food, processed food diet. No matter how good it tastes, no matter how much you love French fries, no matter how much you love Frappuccinos, no matter how much you love a Krispy Kreme donut, in January, you got to say it's going to be fresh, whole food and largely plants. And that's going to do almost all that you need for your health. Junk out, whole food, largely plants in, your health will blossom and your waistline will shrink.
Well, for myself, for many years, I had a parade of pharmaceutical reps. You probably had the same thing, coming through my office and dropping off all kinds of junk food in my practice. And I did not realize, because years ago I was not trained in nutrition like most doctors, and I ate that stuff. And after I gave it up, after I learned about what real food was and what that processed junk and crap was, now if I even taste it or even smell it, it really is really distasteful to me. Have you found that in your own life, that, and for your patients, when you really get away from eating that stuff, your taste buds really change? You really prefer to have real food. I mean, I can't even drink soda now. If anyone paid me, it tastes so bad to me. And it's really amazing how really good food becomes tasty and really desired and preferable over the junk and crap food. And you probably see that. I believe you have a restaurant, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, I built fences around what I eat and what I don't eat through my whole life. I grew up keeping kosher, so there was a very clear fence that the cheeseburger and the pork and the sausage wasn't on the list. That helped because that already shrunk the number of choices I chose to make. And then when I adopted a plant-based diet, which was 40 years ago, that really put a limit around the prime rib and the hamburger, and the hot dog were off the menu completely. I had to learn what really whole food plant-based diet was. But saying no and just saying I won't eat ice cream, okay, or I'm just not doing frappuccinos because that is like so many calories. I'm not doing soda pop. Stick to that rule. It's good to have rules. I think I've read that we make about 200 food choices a day, and it's actually, there's something called decision fatigue. You want to eat healthy, but there's the donut, and there's the muffin that's hyper processed, and somebody left some chocolate, and then there's some M&Ms, and all day long, am I a good person if I eat the M&Ms or not? It's actually easier if you just say, I'm going to eat whole food, plant-based, with a few other options of your choice. It actually makes life a little simpler. And you're right. So I own a restaurant, and just to relate back to what you said, I will typically, on a night I'm at my restaurant just visiting people, which is a whole food, plant-based, very healthy restaurant, I'll walk down the block and back. It's a whole row of restaurants in the suburb of Detroit. And when I walk by a particular bar that serves only fried food, fried cauliflower, fried pickles, fried zucchini, fried chicken, the smell of fried food does now physically repulse me. I'm not going to tell you I wouldn't drink a Mountain Dew right now. It would actually probably go down pretty good. I won't. But the smell of fried food is just so foreign to me because we will not fry any food in my restaurant. I can't think of the last time I ate fried food. It's just one example of one of those barriers you might want to set mentally. Say January is not a fried food month. It's simply not the type of food my body deserves to be fed. So I agree with you.
So you just have to create that barrier. I love that you said you just create walls and you say, this isn't going to come near my mouth, it just isn't going to enter my body. I really want to be healthy. And
Right.
There's nothing that is more important than your health, because it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you don't have health, you can't enjoy your life. You can't fulfill your dreams. You can't have fun adventures. You can't do the things you want to do if you don't have your health.
If you stop to consider that for a minute, but most people are not considering it. And just a couple comments. There's a quote I use a lot that's from the Indian tradition. It says, a man or a woman with health has 1,000 dreams. A person with poor health has only one dream, which of course is to restore their health. And and I ponder this sometimes. If you were to speak to a young person dying of cancer, dying of heart disease, of which there's hundreds of thousands, and way too many and tragic, and you said, if you had to do it over again, I don't think I've ever read this study, would you have exercised more, slept more, eaten more salads, and had some green juice, and maybe pushed away some of the food? I don't know. I don't know if people would do it if they played it backwards. Would they do it differently? Or is it that machismo, he died doing what he loved, even if he died at age 51 of a sudden heart attack? But we have a cardiologist nationally known, internationally known, Dr. Kim Williams, who just served as the president of the American College of Cardiology. Mm-hmm. He adopted a plant-based diet about a dozen years ago because his cholesterol, he was actually a professional tennis player as well as the chairman of cardiology, fit, thin, but his cholesterol was high. Adopted a plant-based diet after reading the literature. His cholesterol came down, never needed medication. His famous quote, he just was interviewed, he said, I really don't mind dying. I just don't want it to be my own fault. And that's actually become sort of an internet meme. People show up on T-shirts. He chuckles about it. He didn't copyright it and produce coffee cups, but it often is on coffee cups now. I don't mind dying. I just don't want it to be my own fault. So take control of your health. put some barriers of what you absolutely just won't do, and substitute all the healthy, wonderful options that are out there.
Now, I know a lot of people don't know what to do to have enjoyable foods that are the healthy plant-based foods. And since you have a restaurant, you probably know what dishes are most popular. So if you're going to talk to, say, the cook of the family, whether it's the male or the female, and maybe there's some kids, what kinds of foods could you recommend to introduce into their family kitchen that they might serve that will be popular with their family? Like, what do you do when you have, say, a husband who's only used to eating, like you said, French fries and hamburgers and hot dogs, and just makes faces when you say, let's eat plant-based foods? You know, what kind of foods can you suggest?
Right. So, I mean, there are some people that really need to jump in the pool. They have serious heart disease or maybe uncontrolled diabetes, and they are encouraged to just embrace this 3 meals a day, 7 days a week for 3-4 weeks. And there are such programs, true immersions. But for the average person, that's simply too stressful and too foreign. So I usually start with breakfast. And at my restaurant or when I'm talking to patients, I'm talking about usually 2 things. Eat oatmeal. You can get oatmeal on the run. You can get oatmeal on the highway. You can get oatmeal in an airport. There's different varieties of the quality, but you can find oatmeal. You're hardly ever going to hurt yourself. If you really want to upgrade it, put some walnuts, put some berries, put some cinnamon, put some nutmeg, you're golden. I mean, or I might teach them even easier, make overnight oats. You just got a mason jar. You put in oatmeal, you put in almond milk, you put in cinnamon, nutmeg, you put in some berries. In the morning, it tastes like you're in a Swiss resort eating muesli. The whole thing took, less than a minute the night before, and you don't have to decide there's a leftover pizza I'm going to eat for breakfast, or I'm not going to grab the lamb chop. I've got overnight oats. The other thing I get people started on is everybody has a blender or a NutriBullet, or if you're upscale, a Vitamix. Learn how to have frozen fruits and vegetables and throw in a cup of blueberries and a cup of frozen spinach and throw in some, coconut milk or soy milk or almond milk or something. Lots of spices. I love nutmeg, cinnamon, ginger, kind of a apple pie mix kind of.
I was going to say pumpkin pie spice. Everyone
loves. If you want to be
pie.
fancy, exactly, pumpkin pie. But throw in some chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds. Those are all the. If you got cacao powder, wow, we're really upgrading it now. But keep it simple. And again, in usually about 2 minutes, including cleanup, you've got that 4 or 5 serving of fruit and vegetable a day smoothie. And I like to have them bury that back and forth. That's all they got to do. You can do that for the rest of your life, 7 days a week. You got breakfast nailed, and then we'll go from there. And that's what we do in my restaurant. It's oatmeal, it's smoothies, and a couple other variations. Chia pudding, which is kind of overnight again. Instead of the oats, you just throw chia seeds in your.
I happen to love chia seed pudding. That's one of my favorites.
Chia, these little hard seeds, they expand 10 times their weight when you soak them. So you end up with that gelatinous, delicious, and again, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, cloves. You've got this power
pack. Throw in some bananas.
Yeah, bananas. Yeah, all kinds of delicious add-ons if you want to make it fancy.
And what about some other grains? Do you like to maybe substitute oatmeal with maybe these other grains, millet or?
For people that really, there's a few people you can buy gluten-free oats, but some people are concerned if they're dealing with celiac disease. Quinoa can be an amazing breakfast. It can also be an overnight jar kind of breakfast that you soak. Quinoa, it provides rich protein and fiber and minerals and nutrients. And again, we don't think of it as a breakfast cereal, but it's so easy to take quinoa and spices and throw some blueberries and maybe some pecans, and you got actually just a delicious bowl to go with. Buckwheat is another one. Buckwheat is very nutritious, and we're not used to thinking about that as a prime time breakfast cereal, but a hot bowl of buckwheat with some cinnamon and walnuts, can't beat it. And it's really quick.
I deal a lot with PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, and buckwheat contains a lot of myo-inositol, which actually lowers blood sugar and actually helps control, the glucose levels. And people don't realize that because, how maligned have grains been, whole grains? People talk about grains like they're processed carbs, and they say they're going to raise your blood sugar. But here I know that it actually can lower blood sugar. And I thought maybe you could comment on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's a lot of lumping that goes on, low carb diets, or very famous research study that came out about August of 2017, the PURE study. large 130,000 study published in the Premier Journal, all carbs lumped, as if
Crazy.
100% whole wheat Ezekiel bread is the same as a piece of Wonder Bread. And everybody knows that's not the case. I mean, or a donut is the same as 100% whole wheat muffin, a bran muffin. It can't be, and it isn't, but they get lumped. So there aren't all evil carbs. Of course, you and I know celiac disease, stay away. A couple gluten sensitive people out of 100, stay away. But you're right, the overwhelming mass of data is 100% whole grains, brown rice, and 100% whole wheat bread or pasta. Not too chopped up and refined, nice coarse bread is a very blood sugar lowering, blood cholesterol lowering, and probably longevity enhancing food traditionally eaten all over the world. It's a core food in the Mediterranean diet, even though some revisionists take all grains out of the Mediterranean diet, put in coconut oil. No. That's called paleo, and that's not the Mediterranean diet. Let's leave it the way it caused great deals of health in the Mediterranean basin, still does. So you're right. You're spot on in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually am in my functional medicine world. I'm always fighting for whole grains because there are so many people now that are anti-whole grain. And what about this whole lectin thing that has come up? Saying that every plant-based food has lectins. What is this new craze against lectins? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, and just in case the listeners don't know, because it's not a very common word, lectins are glycoproteins, sugar protein complexes. They're actually found in almost all mammals. They're found in all plants. There are some that clearly are very beneficial to health. I work in an integrative clinic where the cancer doctors are using mistletoe. Think of Christmas, mistletoe, to augment cancer treatment. Mistletoe is a very powerful lectin, very beneficial. Studies have been shown, real science. On the other hand, legumes, beans, peas, lentils have this chemical in it that may be there to protect the plant from an insect, protect the plant from a predator. We're big beasts. We're not like a little praying mantis eating on a plant. So there's been a theory that these chemicals that may protect the plant because they're bitter or because they have a bit of toxicity are destroying our health. And it's true. Everybody, listen, don't eat raw beans. Don't take a bag of raw kidney beans and chew on them. And I don't think anybody listening has ever had the desire. You never see chocolate-covered raw red kidney beans. They're going to make your stomach upset, and that may be the lectins. But when you cook and when you pressure cook and when you buy canned beans, lentils, chickpeas, and the rest, which we know how to soak overnight and all the rest, you're really not going to deal with this. I got to say, if I had a severe inflammatory disorder, my joints were swollen, and my psoriasis was flaring, I might take a break from grains and lectins for the same reason that a few people are gluten sensitive. 2, 3, 4% of people might authentically not tolerate them well, but for the general listener, eat every chickpea, eat every lentil, eat every bean that you can find, and the odds are you're going to end up like a Blue Zone participant and maybe live to your 90 or 100 dancing at your 100th birthday party.
Yeah, I speak a lot, and I know you do too, on the gut microbiome. And these beans, these legumes, and chickpeas in particular are amazing. They're great food for our microbiome, and you don't get that if you're just eating lots of meat. I mean, that isn't going to happen, So I'm always speaking against the ketogenic diet, and I've wondered what you felt about that. Eating lots and lots of fat and lots of animal.
Yeah, so I encourage, again, people can be sophisticated nowadays. You can go to the National Library of Medicine and type in ketogenic diet. Almost every medical reference is about using the ketogenic diet for refractory seizure disorders.
Children.
Show me data about ketogenic diet to reverse heart disease, to maintain long-term health. And what you might find, particularly if you alter it to searching for low-carb, high-fat diets, you find some very disturbing data that they actually might long-term increase the rate of early death. And I've just published on this in late 2017 in an article that got a lot of attention, that anybody can do the Atkins diet and lose weight to fit into a wedding dress. I don't think it's a very good option, but people have been doing that. God bless you. Do it for a week. God bless you. But that's not what's being promoted. People are talking, get rid of all carbs, again, as if all carbs are the same. substitute lots of protein and fat like steaks and meat and coconut oil and just pack them in a ketogenic diet. And I'm very concerned that the hidden message, the skeleton in the closet is these may actually be putting people's long-term survival at risk according to science. So I'm not a fan, although there is something recently called cyclic ketogenic, which gets to closer to Dr. Walter Longo's fasting mimicking diet. You know, something for 5-6 days, and then you go back to a whole food healthy diet, may be a more rational approach. And I like when you do it with plants, which is what our mutual friend and mentor, Dr. Longo in Los Angeles, is doing with the Prolon fasting mimicking diet, which is really a plant-based ketogenic diet. But that's a whole different ballpark than eating 30-ounce steaks 30 days in a row, as my Twitter friends proudly display their six-pack. But I worry about their coronary arteries and their sexual organ arteries because they're probably badly clogged.
Yeah, you were absolutely reading my mind as you were talking about the ketogenic diet. Like for short term, it's like, yes, intermittent ketosis, and to vary that with eating really seems to be what will promote the best possible health. And I know that you've tried the fasting mimicking diet yourself, haven't you, a few times?
Yeah, I'm kind of the poster child. When I learned about it at the beginning of 2017 and started using this commercially available program Dr. Longo created, and that's available, it just jived. I've been eating plant-based for decades, very stable weight, but I wanted it to be lower, and this thing just kicked in, and blood pressure came down, weight came down, inflammatory markers in my blood, which were almost perfect, but they became even more perfect. And now, having used this in several hundred patients, it's pretty. I mean, I had a whole office full today of like Prolon cheerleaders. They're buying more boxes, they're doing this monthly. And for many people, including me, this has been the special sauce that really changes their metabolism and provides that optimal weight and metabolism that they've been looking for. Right. And maybe we'll all see each other at age 150. If we're yeast, that's very likely, but I don't know for sure in the human model if we know that.
Well, I think it's really going to be the biggest breakthrough in terms of general health and longevity. And I'm a very big fan as well. And I've mentioned this to a couple of people that my own autoimmune Hashimoto's thyroiditis reversed since I've done it quite a few times myself.
Well, that's a case report there.
And they're doing research on it for autoimmunity. And so I was an N of 1 myself, but reportable case that I turned my whole autoimmunity status around. And so I'm very big on it. And of course, for metabolic health, it's very, very big. I thought maybe you could just describe what the fasting mimicking diet actually is comprised of for people who are interested.
For many people, this is very novel, but there's a research scientist in Los Angeles, Dr. Walter Longo, who very early in his career, as we both know, got exposed to that biosphere project. And some people will remember these crazy scientists locked in this dome twice, but he was involved in one called Biosphere 2. And these scientists came out and they actually had run out of food and they were fasting, and it kind of provoked a lot of thought because they survived and they recovered and they refed themselves. But, there were some markers that suggested that they had actually benefited from fasting, and there were animal studies. And Dr. Longo's mind was running, and as he was doing some of the world's most amazing biochemical and analysis of aging and cell death and cell repair, he was doing experiments on fasting. And there's so many different ways you could fast. A day a week, 2 days a week, 12 hours, 18 hours, total restriction with only water, moderate restriction. He ultimately found through years of science that if you fast 5 days in a row, but you don't have to completely fast, that's called fasting mimicking diet, because you can still fill the stomach with some calories, but you get a response as if you had done a complete fast. And he translated this from yeast studies to mice studies to human studies. Lo and behold, he found it provoked a lot of very healthy responses in the body, where inflammation went down, cholesterol, blood pressure went down, visceral fat, the fat around the belly you really want to get rid of, went away by doing this 5 days a month, several months in a row. But even more interesting was these drop in cancer markers, like one called IGF-1 that we need when we're baby cows or baby humans, but we don't need when we're 45, 50, or 55 at high levels. And then the most remarkable is that stem cells, these juvenile cells in our bone marrow that know how to circulate and find an area that's injured or inflamed and provide a substrate to heal and maybe actually, repair damaged nerves, damaged muscles, damaged joints. He found that they flooded the blood by doing this. So this was a bit of a stress. Not, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. This diet for 5 days won't kill you, but it might actually ultimately make you like Christina Aguilera, the fighter, a little bit stronger. And science has shown that. So there's an explosion of science around the world using 5 days a month to rejuvenate your body, and 25 days a month, some version of a healthy diet that eliminates that processed junk and concentrates on whole foods that are, rejuvenating. And it's a remarkable program. That if this were a pill, if we had a pill, we told people this pill is likely to cut down belly fat, drop your blood pressure, increase stem cells that rejuvenate your body, and lower inflammation, that pill would sell for $3,000 a month. And this is food that's doing it. And I think we get lost that I'll just do it at home with my own version. This took 10 years for one of the world's most brilliant scientists to create. So I've been very loyal to following his prescribed plan.
Yeah, I think you go with the data. You don't go and make up stuff on your own. I think for myself, in addition to trying to deal with the autoimmunity, one of the other areas that they're researching is cognitive health. And they're doing research, in terms of how it impacts on potential Alzheimer's or any kind of memory loss. And for myself,
I forgot that. No.
Yeah, right. No, but I had, in my own past, again, I had a traumatic brain injury. I had a mountain biking accident. I was knocked unconscious. And so I know that's a risk factor and I want to stay smart. And so that's one of the other things. And what I can personally testify to is that when I've done it, and on day 5, I feel super sharp. I feel like I could take anybody on, and play chess and I'll win.
Well, there is, that same diet, that fasting mimicking diet has shown in mice to actually provoke brain growth in the brain called the hippocampus. I mean, food is causing your brain to grow. Now we kind of consider fish to be the brain food for reasons that are more a myth than reality. But here we have a really up-to-date scientific project that is actually demonstrating, at least in animal models, brain growth. I'd like my brain to be bigger and my waistline to be smaller.
That's right.
I'll eat a few soups and nut bars to get that result.
I know. I mean, those mice were running those mazes like they were brilliant little mice. And in humans, they have shown increases in brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which improves both, cognition and mood, right? So we all want to have good mood and good thinking. So I think this is something wonderful. So if you were going to leave our viewers here with a couple of things, like maybe they're what you're talking about with your patients, about resolutions for the new year, like what few things could you say, this is really doable, here are the resolutions that should be on your list if you want to be healthy and have a good heart and just all around have longevity potential.
Okay. Am I allowed one shameless plug?
Absolutely.
Okay. So one shameless plug. Number one on your must-do list, please order my fifth book, The Plant-Based Solution, endorsed by John Mackey, founder of Whole Foods, and Dr. Dean Ornish, a world-famous cardiac researcher, The Plant-Based Solution. Okay, so that's
and I have to say, I endorse it as well.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Number two, I'm getting a little techie here. I find it critically important that we upgrade our ability to identify heart disease. You're 50 years old, you get a colonoscopy, you get a mammogram. Actually, it came out in the news in late 2017. They won't even pay for an electrocardiogram during your annual physical with your doctor.
I saw that.
They don't want anything for your heart. So in my city, for only $70, you can go for a CAT scan of your heart, $70. The electrocardiogram is $40. This high-tech definitive study is $70. Maybe it's $100 in your city. It's called a coronary artery calcium scan. It's about a 30-second CT scan of the heart. Lie down, hold your breath, go home. No IV, no injection, no iodine, no exercise. And it will tell you whether you are missing the boat. You think you're healthy, but you've got aged diseased arteries, or it'll confirm your lifestyle's been great and you got youthful arteries. Go look at it. I've written dozens of blogs begging people, don't be like the mayor of San Francisco in late 2017, who at age 65 dropped dead of a heart attack, as the autopsy showed. Find out earlier in life if you got a problem and get working on it. Coronary artery calcium CT scan. It's available in every city where everybody's listening. Number 3 is just the only nutritional rule I follow. It's a ratio, V to A. Increase your vegetables, decrease your animal. At your comfort level, I have chosen to have V 100%, A 0%. You might choose 90, 10, 80, 20. The average American, it's about 80 animal, 20 vegetable. That's a horrible ratio. And actually the data is 90% of Americans don't get 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. 90% of cardiologists in training don't get any nutrition education, and they don't do any better than the public. So up your V, lower your A, vegetable to animal. And you dial in what you want. I mean, I'm not going to judge you. The more you move towards vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains, the more your health will blossom. And if you enjoy some animal products, fine by me. You won't find them in my restaurant, but fine by me. And if you want to go 100% like the NBA is all kind of transitioning to, even better. Or the Tennessee Titans. 25% of a football team is eating vegan. I mean, there's something radical going on in this world that we couldn't have said 2 years ago. So dial that number up. And that's really my top 3. The book, the CAT scan, the ratio at your comfort level.
Well, those sound like really doable ideas for everyone's list. I can't imagine why anyone can't do all 3 of those. And I hope that they will.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble will help with the first one. And you might have to do a little research on number 2 and number 3.
Do you have any recipes in your book?
Yeah, actually, this is the first book I've done, and I have to give credit to my wife, Karen, and many decades. There's a 3-week eating plan, which would translate to 63 recipes, but there's some extra ones. So there's about 70, and they're very easy. I did one on Fox TV recently because I'm not much of a chef, but give me chickpeas, a masher, and some spices. I can make you a chickpea mash.
It sounds like your book will take care of 2 of the 3.
Absolutely. There you go. It's actually true.
That's great. And what age would you suggest people get the calcium score?
45, unless you've got something really risky. If your cholesterol is unusually high, if you've developed type 2 diabetes early in life, if you've been a smoker, if you got a brother, sister, mom, or dad that had a heart attack at 38, and those are real family histories, do it by age 40 or earlier. I mean, sadly, there are people 35, 36, 37 that drop dead of a heart attack. The whole thing is find out early and then find out what you can do about it. But if you don't know, you're going to go, for that cheeseburger and fries that my hospital will happily serve you for a profit. Yeah. And you'll be, at risk. So don't be at risk. Find out.
Right. What you don't know definitely can kill you.
Right. Definitely. Test, not guess, is really what I teach in my office to everybody.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kahn, for joining me here. And I hope you'll come back because we definitely have so much more to speak about. This is such an important topic, all the things that you can do to be healthy and things that are really not hard to do, just have to just do them, right?
And I agree. And I just want to point out everything I said applies to women and men because we still carry this idea. I mentioned the mayor of San Francisco died in late 2017, a guy, Mayor Lee. But women get heart disease. I had a lovely couple in the office today, same age, unfortunately, same waistline, which was too big. He had 0 score on his calcium scan. She had a score of 100, which at her age was very high. They both are susceptible, men and women. So women, this isn't just about your guy. This is about you. So be sure you get checked. Be sure you have a high vegetable animal ratio. Be sure you buy many copies of
Heart attacks and cardiovascular problems are the #1 issue for women. It beats by many fold
10 times, 10 times over breast cancer.
That's right. So we must bring home that information. That is very important. Heart disease is not a male disease.
In fact, if you're over age 50 and you have breast cancer, your #1 cause of death is heart disease.
That's right.
Breast cancer therapy is so effective nowadays.
That's right. That's right. So thank you so much. And we hope to see you again soon. Have a wonderful 2018. And And good luck with your restaurant and your book. I don't know that you need my luck. I think they're going to both do great.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
again for joining me.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This show never ceases to amaze me. That's a lot of information, but that's what's great about Zuby Alive. You can watch this video as many times as you need to get the full benefit of it. We'd like to say thank you to Dr. Kahn for being on the Women's Healthbeat today. And remember, if you have a health and wellness topic or story that affects you and you'd like to share it with the Zuby Alive community, make sure to visit our website and download our live stream app at zubyalive.com or your favorite app location. But for now, we'd like to say thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining us today. While we're grateful for our host and guest on Zuby Alive, we must mention that the views and opinions expressed are not necessarily shared by Zuby Alive, its hosts, guests, affiliates, sponsors, management, or employees. Furthermore, Zuby Alive videos are not meant to replace any medical care and should not be used in lieu of seeking professional medical advice. We hope you enjoyed our broadcast, and we'll see you again soon.